Good Tuesday morning, everyone. Welcome back to Weather with Sim again. I hope you guys are all having a great day so far. And in today's weather forecast, we still have quite a bit of severe weather to go over the next few days, especially. And we'll also be going over those threats for flash flooding as well, which we actually do have a threat for flash flooding pretty much almost across the same areas that will likely be experiencing severe storms today. And then we also will be going over the tropics at the end. And what's crazy is that we're almost to a La Nina, just traces away. We might even be able to consider a La Nina right now, but just traces away from a La Nina. So we'll have to let you guys know about that. But let's first go ahead and talk about what we can expect today. And as you guys can see, we do have two areas to watch. One will be the Dakotas, especially the central part of each Dakota, central North Dakota and central South Dakota. And then we got another one that heads from all of Iowa, eastern Nebraska, back into northern and eastern Missouri, southern and central Illinois, southwest Indiana, western Kentucky, central and eastern Tennessee, and then a little bit of northern Georgia, and as well as eastern or western North Carolina. So it's definitely going to be something to keep an eye on today, as we do have the risk for a few isolated tornadoes in both areas. I'm mainly going to be concerned about this bigger tornado threat, though, not by the probability, but by how widespread it is. As you can see, heading from Minnesota all the way down into central Tennessee, and then we got that other area right there, which is much smaller, but we could still very well see an isolated tornado or two there. And then for the wind threat, winds are going to be the biggest concern today. We might actually be needing to be watching for a derecho type setup, okay? This isn't likely, so take this with a grain of salt today, because not all models are showing that we will be seeing a derecho today or tonight. But the reason why we might be a little bit concerned about that is because we do have a hatched risk, as you can see. That includes Iowa, central Illinois, and northeast Missouri, okay? That means 75-mile-per-hour winds or greater will be possible today. It's not as likely as 60 to 70, but it's still going to be possible. So because we could see greater than 70-mile-per-hour winds, that's the reason why we could maybe see a derecho type setup. But regardless of that, we're going to mainly be watching for MCSs, mesoscale convective systems, which are lines of storms moving through, bringing that threat for some hurricane force winds possible. So that's the main concern today, is QLCSs. But like I said, guys, we could maybe see a derecho if we do get the conditions right, okay? So that's something we still are going to be watching for, even though it's very unlikely. And then for the hail threat, as you can see, we do have a threat for some large hail too as well. The hail threat is actually greater in this area compared to what it was yesterday, so hail is going to be a little bit bigger concern today across that area, which means 1 to 2 inch hail may be possible. So if you do live across that yellow color, which does include eastern Nebraska, all of Iowa, back into western Illinois, and northeast Missouri, will be at risk for 1 to 2 inch hail for today. Now, if you look at tomorrow's threat, as you can see for tomorrow, we do have a slight risk level 2 out of 5 threat for some of the areas, especially Iowa, but this actually does include some other areas, so places like South Dakota, back into southwest Minnesota, western Iowa, back into eastern Nebraska, even down there into northern and central Kansas, will be at risk for severe weather as we do head into tomorrow. We still actually have a pretty big marginal risk around, so these areas that have been dealing with some severe weather could still very well see some of that. So, even though the threat won't be as high tomorrow, you guys in this green color should still be weather aware just in case. Not because of the tornado threat, but because of the wind threat. But we are concerned about tornadoes in parts of the slight risk, as you can see, but it also does include parts of the marginal. So we do have a 2% risk for tornadoes for tomorrow across some of the marginal risk and some of the slight risk. So it pretty much includes both areas. So if you do live in that green color, definitely be ready for more severe storms as we do head into tomorrow. And then for the wind threat, we do have a threat for some damaging winds pretty much across the entirety of the slight risk, and then hail threat, mainly the northern half of it, will be at risk. And then finally, for day 3, okay, this will be for Thursday this week, and as you can see, the Storm Prediction Center was confident enough to add a slight risk from Illinois through central and parts of northern Indiana down there into southwest Ohio and northeast Kentucky will be an area to be watching for as we do head into Thursday, but they haven't issued the hazards yet, so we're not really concerned about it as of right now, but we will be more concerned about it as we do head into tomorrow, because we'll be a little bit more certain on where exactly we expect severe weather, which this could very well be shifting far down to the south, or it might even include northern Kentucky, or this could even shift off to the north, who knows. So that's why we're going to be more concerned about it as we do head into tomorrow. Now, if we look at the threat for flash flooding, okay, because we're going to be talking the potential for a couple MCS, mesoscale convective systems. So MCS is probably what I should have said. They're not QLCSs. I got that wrong, by the way. It's MCSs, mesoscale convective system. So make sure to keep that one in mind instead of QLCSs, because I'm very surprised I got that wrong. But we are going to be watching for MCSs across this area. As you can see, mesoscale convective system, which again are lines of storms. We could very well be seeing the potential for very heavy rainfall with each of those, and because we're going to be talking about maybe the potential for a few, we could very well be seeing, some training thunderstorms. So that is definitely going to bring Iowa all the way down to northwest Georgia at risk for flash flooding. Now, if we look at tomorrow's threat for flash flooding, as you can see, we do have one across northern Illinois, southwest Wisconsin, almost all of Iowa, heading into southern Minnesota, and as well as eastern South Dakota will be an area to watch for. Plus, we actually do have an isolated higher threat for flash flooding up here across New England. This is just a slight risk, by the way, but the reason why we have this is because we could be talking about a couple rounds of showers and thunderstorms up here in New England, which probably wasn't really expected because we weren't dealing with severe weather, but that's not what causes flash flooding. It's just about if you have any thunderstorms up here. So places like Vermont and New Hampshire will be one of the other areas to watch, and so you guys could very well see your guys' own flash flooding. Now, if we look at day 3, which will be after tomorrow on Thursday this week, as you can see, a pretty big marginal risk for flash flooding, but we could very well be seeing an embedded slight risk, and I assume that would probably include the slight risk for Thursday, which does include Indiana and as well as Ohio. So we could very well be seeing something like this as we do head into Thursday this week. But let's look at the tropics, okay? And as you can see, this is orange, okay? Last I checked it had a 60% chance of development, okay? So if this upgrades again, we will likely see that red color starting to show up, indicating a greater than 60% chance of development. So this is definitely going to be an area to be watching for as this will continue to move closer. And like I said, it's not very favorable out here, but as it does get closer, it will be more favorable, not only because there might be a little bit less wind shear and Saharan dust, but also because those water temperatures are a lot more warmer. So even if we did have some wind shear around, this could really rapidly intensify into maybe a hurricane, but it sounds like meteorologists are saying this is going to become more of a tropical storm or depression threat type of system. So we're not really sure if that's going to be the case, but I'm still gonna continue to say hurricane possible along the East Coast and Gulf Coast because, like I said, this could very well rapidly intensify if it does, reach the warmer areas and as well as the warmer waters. So that's something we are going to be needing to be watching for. Now, if we go ahead and take a look at the La Nina, or where those water temperatures in the eastern Pacific are, look how close we are to a La Nina. So that latest blue dot that you see, and I'm sorry it keeps going back and forth, by the way, it's kind of a little bit scammy, but if you look at those water temperatures, the latest blue dot is where those water temperatures are at, and as you can see, they're below 0.4, but as soon as they reach 0.5, we will be in a La Nina, okay? This is pretty surprising for a lot of people, but this is definitely going to be one of those water temperatures where we could be really seeing things change pretty dramatically, okay? That doesn't mean it will happen as soon as it gets to a La Nina, but things could at least change in about a month or two. So that is definitely going to be something to watch for, as these water temperatures may reach 0.5, but maybe might go back up again. So we'll have to see about that. Plus, these water temperatures actually have to stay below 0.5, as you can see down there, for it to be able to change dramatically to, La Nina-like conditions. But if they end up going back up again, then it will be more like a neutral phase, so we'll have to see about that. But let's look at what we can expect if we do stay in a La Nina for long enough. Like I said, you kind of have to stay in a La Nina for quite a while for those conditions to start changing and, changing to La Nina-like conditions, or else it will be more of a neutral phase type setup still. But if we look at what we could be seeing as soon as we get to La Nina, we could be seeing cooler than normal temperatures up here across the upper Midwest back through the Great Lakes and as well as the northern Rocky Mountains. This is something to watch for, especially during the winter, but that's still really far out, so we'll have to see. But we do expect well above average precipitation across the upper part of Washington and Oregon, or let's just say the Northwest United States. So both of those areas could be seeing well above average precipitation during the La Nina if we do see one. But over here across the Great Lakes, Midwest, Ohio Valley, heading into Mid-Atlantic, and as well as the Deep South, or the northern part of the Deep South rather, will be at risk for some above average precipitation as we do head into, a La Nina, only if we stay in a La Nina long enough. So the confidence has grown across the Northwest United States seeing above average precipitation. We're still a little bit iffy on if this jet stream will be able to, stay in the region that is expected to see what are the normal conditions during the La Nina. Like I said in my winter forecast, which you guys can go ahead and watch if you want, but this could very well, be shifting down to the south and, up at times. So it really just depends on where this jet stream is exactly going to be overall, which is going to determine on if we see weather wetter or not. So we'll have to see on what changes if we do see a La Nina. Like I said, it's going to have to stay in the La Nina category long enough for it to, be able to change to La Nina-like conditions, or else it will continue to be in a neutral phase, like I said. But look at those water temperatures, okay? Like I said, those water temperatures are a lot warmer across the coastal areas. And look at that, very warm waters across the Gulf of Mexico and, of course, around Florida. So if this system right here moves towards, the coastal areas of Florida, like I said, this could rapidly intensify as it does move and get closer to the Florida area, okay? And that's not a joke. That could very well rapidly intensify. Meteorologists don't really say this is going to become a hurricane, which it could become maybe a Category 1 hurricane, kind of like what Beryl did before it reached Texas. It was actually a Category 5 hurricane, but what I mean by that is it died down in the peninsula, and then it pretty much regained and rapidly intensified near the coast of Texas to a Category 1 hurricane. hurricane, which is very well something we could see as it does get closer to Florida. So even though we expect more of a tropical storm type setup, we could still very well be seeing a hurricane or two only if this thing really tries to rapidly intensify. So we'll have to see about that. But thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you guys did enjoy my video. If you guys are wondering about how this weather's going to be, you guys can comment that down below in the comments. And I really do appreciate you guys getting me up to 100, if why not 270 subscribers. 270 subscribers is legit, and I really do appreciate you guys subscribing to my YouTube channel. That is really awesome of you guys. So if you guys will continue subscribing to my YouTube channel, that will be amazing, and I will be even more excited about it. Plus, we might even do a 300 subscriber celebration if you guys are able to get me up there. So get ready for that if you guys will get me up to 300 subscribers. And of course, like down below and like my videos, of course. And I hope you guys do have a great week.